was at your level, and because you experienced so much hardship, it kind of opened up the gate for him to get hits. Even though it probably was it little things that he did that appealed to him. What was it that reeled you in? I would say
it was the one night he held me and I poured out everything that was going on with me. It was the first time that I was able to cry and tell somebody everything that I was going through, how hurt I was, how betrayed I felt by family and friends. And then he started telling me things that happened to him. So for the first time, I had felt some comfort. And for a long time, I had felt some comfort, some relief, and I felt like someone understood and could relate to me. And then he started doing little things. I finally had got a job, but he started doing little things like paying my cell phone bill, making sure that I had food to eat, making sure I got back and forth to work safely. My car ended up getting towed and stuff like that. I got in a car accident and I couldn't have paid enough to get the car out. So he made sure he was paying like $20-$30 a day to get me back and forth to work in a cab and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a little gradual things like that. With that built.
Go ahead with that build. I want to interject and ask you something, but go ahead with that build.
That to just build up the trust, the confidence that I had in him, that made me just even want to be with him even more. Because at that time, I felt like I had nobody.
Okay, and was that your picture of what love looks like at that time? Like someone that to care for you and tend to you? Was that a version enough for you did you vocalize you loved him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, that was for me. My parents split up when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So I've seen my parents together in flashbacks in my mind, but to actually see them in love, I had never witnessed that. Both my parents were remarried. But my idea of love from a man has always been the man is the provider. He's the one who takes care of you. He keeps you safe. He has everything in order. He is just like the all being of how everything is going to go. So yeah, when he started doing things like that, taking care of me, making sure I got home safe and paying little bills for me and making sure I ate, that was like, okay, he loves me. He cares for me. This is who I'm going to be with.
That's safe to say. I think that could appeal to anyone, because in the realm of love can be described as someone caring and nurturing and tending to you. And then when you moved in, you said that was the breaking point where he stopped. I want to say putting on a facade. He started showing all of him. Is that correct? Would you say it that way, or was it traces before you moved in?
No, it wasn't. Now, mind you, I asked, me and him had, went our separate ways, but then I asked to come back to him. I told him my situation. I had lost another job, and at that point, I was just like, God, I don't know what you asking me to do. I basically told God off. I told God I was done with God. I was done with everybody because I felt like I was going down the right path. And I asked him to help me because I knew that he knew people that, he had a best friend that worked for escort and service. And at that time, this was probably about 10 years, not 10 years ago. This is probably 6-7 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it started in 2010. That's when I want to say it started. So back then, there were in Atlantic City area was still escort and service, and he had a best friend that owned one that was working for one. So I knew that he knew how to get me places where I could make fast money to get myself on my feet because I still didn't have anywhere to live. So we linked up. We moved in together. I asked to move with him. We moved in together. And like I said, within a week, that's when I started to see that he was who he was. It was something as simple as I didn't put the ironing board away, and he threw me on the bed and choked me because I had got smart with him. And I remember laying there, and I remember saying, just don't fight back. Don't fight back, because I wanted to get out of the situation. But it still hadn't crossed my mind, this isn't right. Get up and leave. And the old me would have. The old, vibrant me that had everything going on, that was just happy and thought they had everything. And, the old me, I would have. I was times when I remember being like 19 years old and I was dating this guy, and everybody was like, he hits on his girlfriends. And I was like, well, he's not going to hit me. And he went to like pop me in my mouth, and I grabbed his hand and I said, don't you ever. Like the younger me was really feisty. I would never stand for something like that. But this newer me had been broke down so much and hurt so much and just left with nothing, which I thought at the time was nothing, because basically all I lost, really honestly, was a bunch of materialistic things. Looking back on it, I still had my.
Go ahead. You still had your.
I still had my life. I still had my talent. I was healthy enough to get up and go look for another job, but for some reason in my mind, we're built up. We are taught to believe materialistic. That's what we need. We don't have it going on if we don't have the nice car, if we don't have a nice crib, if we can't brag about how much money we make. And that's why a lot of us are selling our souls and selling our bodies, because we feel like this is what we have to survive. And once I gave up all of that, once I lost all of that stuff, and then I lost him, and then I had to start all over again, I learned that I can survive so much more, so better with nothing.
That's that's very awesome that you said that, because a lot of times we find identity in creature comforts. I call them creature comforts because they make life feel a little easier. So if I have a car, I don't have to rely on the bus. If I have a house, I don't have to rely on, worrying about shelter over my head. So it definitely can happen to the most strongest person. And I know you're speaking not only to those that don't have, but to those that do have. To those that are making millions and thousands of dollars, because I have clients that they done seen quite a good amount of money in their time, and they can actually get lost in the sauce and find identity in it. Well, my identity is based on the size of my house, or the amount of money I have, or the people around me. But you're even challenging to say like, okay, you don't find identity in that. You find identity in your gift, your craft, who you are as a person, correct?
Yeah, yes, because you have to know that if you lose that today or tomorrow, you are not going to go insane. You are not going to feel so low that you would put yourself in a position that I put myself in. And that's what ends up happening. That's why you see these people that have all this money and all this wealth, and then they end up committing suicide, because that is not where happiness lies. That is not where love lies. It's within. It's a relationship that you have to build with yourself, and then it gives you the ability to share it with other people. When you have love for yourself, it's a light that shines out of you, and you're able to give it to other people, and you're able to touch other people's lives. But if everything is based on what you have material-wise, it can lead to destruction. I'm not saying that it will, but it can. Because that's all you're basing everything on, and you need to be strong enough without it. That's a different level of consciousness, I believe, you reach when you know that no matter what, if all this is gone today and tomorrow, I still have myself. I still have my higher power. I still have my divine purpose. I'm not afraid of that.
Would you say that if now it sounds like you're your best friend, and I think that's totally awesome. Would you say that if you had someone in your life saying the exact words that you said, you probably would have been on a different track? Because you lost everything. If someone came up to you at that time and said exactly what you just said to you, to the audience, would you have been on a different track, you think?
No.
No?
And no, because this is something that I had to go through. I think the only way sometimes a message is received is if it's meant for you to receive it, if it's your time. I always tell people I don't preach religion, I don't preach God, because if it's not your time to hear it, you're not going to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see my actions. You need to be a witness to what I've gone through. But also, if it's just not your time, it's just not your time. At that moment, I was so involved in going partying. I was so involved, like I was living in La La Land, in the clouds. So I think if somebody would have told me that, I probably would have heard them
and brushed it over.
And I probably would have kept it somewhere in the back of my mind,
mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't have really had an impact on me.
That's safe
right
to say.
and in there.
That's safe to say, and that also speaks volumes, because it calms down the person that's courageous, that if they listen to this and they think the message would be good for a relative or a loved one that they know in their surroundings, they, it definitely speaks to them to calm down and their zealous attempts to get people right, because a message at its right time is perfect, but a message at its wrong time is just, a blow in the wind. Like, it comes, it goes, you hear the person, and it's not no impact. So timing is everything, and you could be at your lowest, but sometimes even at your lowest, you might have a deaf ear. So what, is timing. It's time.
Yeah, because at my lowest, I didn't want to hear, like I said, I literally stood outside of Denny's, was the last place that I had got fired from. And I'm laughing because I think back, I was so ashamed to work there. I did not, but then I went on to strip, so who would have thought? I was so ashamed to work at Denny's, and I got fired, so I was angry. And I stood right outside of Denny's and crying, tears coming out. I said, God, I'm done with you. I'm done. You're not helping me. You see I'm struggling. So at that time, I felt like I was at my lowest at that time, and I didn't want to hear about God. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to do anything. All I wanted was to go. I think that night I went to a bar. I called him up. I wanted to drink. I wanted to ease that pain. I didn't want to hear, but nobody was telling me that the storm, after the storm comes the rainbow, all that good stuff. I didn't want to hear that stuff at that time. But I am grateful for the people that did continue to speak life into me, because like I said, later on down the line, it came back, and I do remember different things that people said to me. At that time, it might have not seemed like I was listening. I always tell my mom with my little sisters, they sound like they're not listening. I mean, they look like they're not listening, but trust me, they have 2 ears. They can't help but hear you. It's going in.
Right.
It will come up when they need it.
Right. That's really good. That's really good. Now, I have to ask this, because we're talking about love is not pain. How did you redefine love? Like, when you was going through it, to help people that are in it, like, how did you separate the two? When was the point when you said, okay, this feels like it's coming from a person that really loves me, but even though it hurts, I stay with it? Or it was coming into it. I know it took for him to leave you to really let go of him, but was